This is the Active Pause podcast with Serge Prangle. In this brief talk, I will be offering a down-to-earth perspective on non-duality. Many spiritual traditions seek to foster non-duality as a way of being in the world. This contrasts with duality, where we experience things and people as separate and other. The problem with spiritual teachings is that they tend to express things in such lofty terms that they feel inaccessible to most of us. So I want to find a down-to-earth experience that helps me relate to non-duality. So to begin with, I have no trouble with the notion that we usually see things in dualistic terms. A simple experiment shows this very clearly. I raise my arm before my eyes and look at my hand. It appears as something separate and other, as seen through a camera, as a photo, as something that's not me. If I describe the experience, I'd say I'm seeing a hand. And so in that phrase, there is a subject, I, and an object, the hand. Even if I call it my hand, it's like something I own instead of being me. So this kind of exploration is something that we do early on in life. Infants are fascinated by their hands and feet as if they were external object, like the mobile moving over their crib. Eventually, they realize they can control the movements of the hands and feet, and so the duality disappears. So, from this, could we say that the non-duality that spiritual traditions talk about has something in common with the experience of infants, noticing that their hands are not separate from them? Well, a simple experiment will void this hypothesis. I look at a big stone and try to get it to levitate or move through my intentions. And I must face the conclusion that, unlike my hand, the stone is separate from me. So maybe we're not talking here about seeing, but sensing. There are moments when our separateness seems to melt into oneness. The experience of love, emotional or physical, swimming in harmony with the water, skiing downhill on a slope that is not overly challenging, lazily lying on the beach when the temperature is just right. So, can I say that duality is related to seeing and non-duality is related to sensing? There must be something to that. Sensing is turned inward, whereas seeing is turned outward. Seeing is an efficient skill that allows us to make our way in the world by discriminating between things we want and things we don't want. It's action-oriented and perfectly adapting to hunting, gathering, building houses, and so on. However, sensing does not always give us that sense of unity. There are plenty of times when sensing brings us a sense of separateness and otherness, essentially when we sense danger. For instance, if you sense somebody hovering next to you, the possibility that this might be a hostile presence increases and your body tightens up. So now we have 3 different types of experiences. There's seeing, which is how we usually function in the world. Seeing things as other allows us to find ways to interact with them. If I realize I cannot levitate the stone through the power of my will, I must find a way to create a tool to do it. The second type of experience is sensing danger, a capacity that has obvious survival value. And the third is sensing safety and the potential for connection. This is when we experience the melting down of our defenses and that wonderful sense of oneness. It also has excellent evolutionary value and represents a big part of what makes us human. So what does all of this tell us? For one, it tells us that there are different ways of interacting with the world. None of them is inherently better than the others. They are each appropriate for some situations and not for others. It also tells us that a non-dualistic experience emerges when the situation feels safe and welcoming. So, trying to get to non-duality through wishful thinking or willpower is not very useful. It is much more effective to focus on fostering safety and connection, from which an experience of oneness is more likely to emerge. Focusing on safety and connection involves paying attention to people rather than ideals or ideas. It brings us down to earth in the gorgeous messiness of what it's like to be human. This recording is part of the Proactive Mindfulness podcast. We explore how to be more present and engaged in our lives and how to make lasting change. This is a contemporary take on mindfulness, informed by embodied therapy and the polyvagal theory. You can find more articles and videos on the website proactivemindfulness.com.